It's a lot to process in one sentence or a few.
Yeah, it was a big one.
How are you?
I am okay. Honestly, better than I thought I would be. Physically, mentally, I mean, the result was certainly disappointing, and I thought that would have me a little bit more down, but more positive and celebratory, and have a feeling of accomplishment beyond what I imagined, certainly while being out there in the heat of the moment.
No question, it was the hardest, and it's a testament to the team standing here today in Itajaí, not in Chile or Auckland or Australia, that the group as a unit, as a team, rose to the task because we were tested in every conceivable way. There was rough weather, but it wasn't in the Southern Ocean. There was cold weather, but it wasn't in the Southern Ocean. There were plenty of surprises, but the one surprise that we didn't have was what the leg asked of everybody. Personally, professionally, it was a true testament to the extremes that we all sign up for.
Well, we all said it was going to be a big challenge. It was going to be tough. Reliability was going to be important, and but I think in every area this race was so much more. This leg was so much more than anyone anticipated. So much harder, so much longer. So much tougher with the issues we went through. But yeah, I'm coming out the other side of it. There's obviously the disappointment that we weren't higher up in the leaderboard, but actually having arrived in Itajaí with a smile on our face, smiles on our faces, there's an incredible feeling of accomplishment, achievement. I think the team should be very proud. So yeah, it's been tough, it's been long, it's been hard, but no, it's been good.
Before getting out of sight of Table Mountain, we broke some batten wingtips. Then we broke a board down line. We had both rudders delaminate, holes in the J2, hole in the J3, hole in the A3. Tack plate on the fro broke, and the main is basically a handkerchief. So, yeah, I mean, keel pump, we had to manually pump the keel for 38 days. I mean, that's outrageous. Yeah, like nothing went according to plan.
So it's a meter.
Yeah, I think some days where we were able to kind of race properly, which was nice, because we didn't have the boat 100% all the time, and it's a bit frustrating. On my side on the boat, I'm more the one who's most focused on the performance. That's my job on board. There was not that many moments where we had the boat really 100%, but then you try to do the best with what you have, and I think we had to do that quite often. And I think we did a pretty good job at it. Yeah. And for sure, we spent some time fixing the boat, and the one who spent the most time at it for sure is Jack. I think he did a really good job at that. Some issues were not easy to solve. You had to be quite good technically. And I think he did a pretty incredible job on some stuff, like fixing the structure of the boat in the bow, fixing the rudders, making sure that keeping track of everything. So I think we...
Just non-stop, right?
Yeah. Non-stop. I think for him it's been pretty full on, as he's kind of the boat captain on board. Yeah, a lot going on for sure.
The way that we dealt with it, was like, you can obviously never count us out, because just any number of the things that I just rattled off, would have shaken a lesser team, or they wouldn't have rallied and would have stopped, and had their competitive hopes dashed. And it was just we have like a never say die attitude, never quit, always give more. And yeah, when you think about it that way, it's pretty cool. Yeah, the team is certainly what what got us through this. For sure, and we have a strong one on board, we have a strong one on shore, we have a strong one behind the scenes, and without every piece of the puzzle, there is no big picture.
And like a crazy leg as well. I mean, there's a boat that got miles ahead and he lost that lead. I don't think I've ever done a race before where a boat's been so far ahead and conceded that much of a lead. And there were so many times where the race came back together or we got dropped by with the weather and, there was an opportunity to catch up. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a real roller coaster ride because, you have an issue and then you kind of fall off the back of the weather and then you see the fleet get away from you because you've got to slow down, you've got to repair something, you haven't really, you have to make that choice and it's a very, very difficult choice to make. And then, you have to look how you're going to get back into it. And then the opportunity presents itself and you get in there and then, it's sort of, you're back racing again and then there was something else that happened. So it was, there's a huge amount of ups and downs. But I think we as a team had to make a very conscious choice to not be, taken on that roller coaster because I think it would drive you to madness. So no, it was, you had to kind of roll with the punches and there are a lot of punches, but we got through it in the end, so that's a good thing. We do these things. We don't do these things because they're easy. You do it for the challenge, and you do it to learn something about yourself or whatever. So it's, it was, I kind of ask myself, how do I want to deal with this? Am I going to get frustrated, or am I going to, try and overcome this? I'm going to let this leg beat me, or am I going to beat this leg? And made a very, very conscious decision to say, right, I'm just going to do this with a smile on my face. I'm going to have fun no matter how miserable it is, basically. I was determined to have fun, and in spite of that, it was still a long leg, and there were still plenty of hard moments. But you can't let what's going on around you sort of dictate your happiness, because otherwise, if you're losing your tough spot, you're always going to be miserable, and it's very hard to mount a comeback from a position where you're generally down and frustrated, if you see what I mean. So it's about maintaining that objectivity, I think, and I think it's also about sort of approaching these things with sort of quite a stoic attitude, in as much as you can't control everything that happens to you. The one thing you can control is how you react to those situations. So I think if you try and capture that, it makes it a bit easier in the moment, and it's certainly something I tried to do in the leg.
Looking back on it now, it's easier to see it, but I think it's a pretty, unbelievable experience. I think to be on a semi-foiling boat in the most remote part of the world in 30 to 40 knots of breeze in 4 to 7 meter waves, screaming along at 25 to 35 knots of speed. It's sort of undescribable. It seems completely stupid, and you sort of, obviously when you're there, you don't really think about it. You're just focusing on what you're doing, and it's exhilarating and terrifying and everything, all of the above. It's something that, just the sheer scale of nature, and it's like the big mountains. It's crazy, and you can feel the power of Mother Nature, and you feel completely insignificant, and that's a pretty unique feeling that you don't get much, I think, and you definitely get down there, and that feeling of being so remote and so exposed and purely at the mercy of nature is something you deal with every day. But now looking back, it's a pretty amazing thing to have done, and I've obviously done it multiple times, but this one was what felt like a much more difficult boat to deal with it in. So that was quite cool.
There's a lot I missed about the Southern Ocean already. And I knew I would. That's why you do this race again. And I said it before leaving, and I'll say it forever. But there's a heightened sense of awareness down there. The air breathes differently. The sky looks different. These incredibly dramatic clouds, and the way the light. I don't know if it's because you're at the bottom of the world, but the light bounces between the waves and the clouds in a way I've never seen anywhere else. The birds, for hours, I could watch the birds without flapping, fly across the sea. I look at the way that they fly and navigate and float and use the waves and the what we call ground effect endlessly without ever exerting any energy. It's beautiful. It's art.
It's actually a very surreal experience, you know. It's like 38 days at sea, and it goes on and on and on, and it seems very long when you're out there. And then you go back to shore, and you know, all of a sudden it's all finished in an instant, and it's just but a memory. So it's it's quite a surreal feeling. It's quite weird. It's sort of it'd been that long, and that had been that hard, and then all of a sudden it's just done and finished, and it's a memory. It's it's quite a strange feeling actually. It's been great to be back on shore, and you know, I've showered, I've eaten, I've slept, seen the family. We've been to the beach, you got in the ocean, which was fantastic. But all of a sudden, the dust, however many days at sea, seem a million miles away. So it's quite a surreal feeling.
It's funny, I don't know that I miss it's an interesting word. I didn't know how I would feel at the end of the leg, and I'd go do it again. Yeah, for sure. I didn't know that was going to be the case upon finishing, but I'd definitely go do it again. And even in like the last days, hours, minutes, it felt like there were still thousands of miles, many days to go, and I would have been okay with that too. You know, it's weird. I mean, every leg, we say it all the time, but every leg has a beginning, middle, and an end, and it doesn't really matter how long the middle is. It's true. You know. I don't know. Maybe I'm atypical in that way, but you can see it when we get in. Everyone's like, I gotta get to the shower. I gotta get to the hotel. Who's the car? Just happy to hang at the base, and what'll happen will happen, and I don't know. That's just how I'm built.